Okay. So we moved from one Fast and Furious um, story to another. So because of the box office that we or that it had, um, it actually might, believe it or not, with the budget it had, it might turn a slim, tiny profit. And that's why I believe that when Diesel says, oh, there's going to be three more, no, there won't. There will not be. Because Universal is not going to invest that kind of money unless they see an ROI. Okay, return on investment. Okay, so we know that it might actually do well. It might turn a profit. So this comes from the Wrap, okay, and Jeremy Fowler, who I spoke to yesterday, and he is coming on tomorrow, guys. So we are going to have the special little announcement, if you will. Jeremy Fowler of the Wrap is coming on tomorrow at noon Pacific time, 3 Eastern, and we're going to talk about everything. This is not going to be a basic interview. This is going to be, we're going to talk everything box office. We're going to talk about the summer box office. We're going to talk about, what's coming up at the end of the year. We have a bunch of other things to dive into. But getting back to the piece for Fast X, he wrote this yesterday, and so this might actually turn a little bit of a profit. Despite its immense production and marketing budget, Universal's Fast X may be able to turn a profit after all. If it does, it will be the enduring international appeal of the Fast and Furious franchise to thank for that. In the United States, Fast and Furious is continuing its decline from a mid-2000s peak with a 67 million opening for Fast X, a launch below the 70 million that the tentpole's predecessor Fast 9 earned during the early stages of the box office COVID recovery in June of 2021. But overseas grosses were a different story, with a 251.5 million take from 84 markets, including 78 from China. That is a result of that as a result of being seen as a positive despite being down 42.5% from the 136 million Chinese opening of Fast 9 shows you how far Hollywood's fortunes in that country have fallen. Yet Fast X, nevertheless, has been the best Chinese opening of any Hollywood film so far this season. Outside of China, Universal reports that the overseas performance of Fast X is ahead 79% of its predecessor, Fast 9, 38% ahead of the 2019 spin-off Hobbs and Shaw, and just 12% behind the $1 billion plus entry of Fate and the Furious. With a $340 million budget before marketing costs, and by the way, guys, they spent $100 million globally marketing this. There is still a very long road for profitability for Fast X. But this weekend's 318.5 million global opening follows the path the film needed as it takes advantage of vastly improved theatrical markets to outperform Fast X, or Fast 9 rather, in key countries. Look at some of the top international markets show the improvement. The opening weekend in Mexico went from 10.9 million for Fast 9 to 16.6 for Fast 10, joining Furious 7 and Fate of the Furious among the top 5 highest openings in that country. India surged from 1.6 million to Fast 9 to a studio record 8.6 million for Fast 10, while Brazil did the same with a 9.9 million opening that was more than triple the opening of Fast 9. I think the goal is to get somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 million. That's what any tentpole relies on overseas needs to make, says box office editor Daniel Leroy. I think the big question is how long of the theatrical window Universal gives Fast X, because the moment a pristine digital copy is released on demand, it's going to be pirated and take a bite out of its international legs. The next step for Fast X is to keep that momentum going heading into the second weekend, where it may have a good chance at holding well in the United States with the Memorial Day weekend. Reception in the United States has been good, but not exceptional, with a B cinema score and audiences having an 82% on post-track and 86% on Rotten Tomatoes. In China, the film has score of 8.9 out of 10, an improvement from the 7.8 of Fast 9. Along with the excellent open weekends, like films like Fast 7 and The Fate of the Furious also had incredible legs in markets around the world. If Fast X has any similar endurance, despite upcoming competition for The Little Mermaid and Transformers Rise of the Beast, it has a chance of earning a final theatrical run similar to the $760 million run of Hobbs and Shaw. That would still be short of the profitability budget, the film's budget, but would still give Fast X a chance to turn profitable on demand and other post-theatrical revenue coming in. Though he predicts a smaller final global total of $650 to $700 million. Turning a profit after a theatrical run isn't exactly the highest level of tentpole blockbuster success, but the good news is that Universal can take that with the pandemic in the rearview mirror, and Fast and Furious still has considerable drawing power worldwide. That means that the franchise supposedly's final installments could turn a theatrical profit if Universal can avoid letting the budget for the future films inflate the way it did for Fast X, with extra COVID precaution expenses, supply chain issues, and a costly cast. And I'm going to get to that in a couple minutes. How exactly Universal will bring Fast and Furious to an end is unclear, as it was previously announced that one more film would be in the series would be made, even though Diesel claimed at the film's premiere in Rome that 2 more would be made. We'll see about that. Universal has confirmed the plan for Dominic Toretto's final chapter, but given that a Fast and Furious finale would likely get a box office bump from audiences curious to see how the 2-decade-long series ends, there still may be some fuel in Universal's long-running tentpole series, provided that it conserves fuel properly. Anyone would kill for numbers like Fast X, he said. It's just that when you add into the context of the budget and the past installments, that it doesn't look good. Fast and Furious is like a 38-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo. He's still knocking in 30 goals. Who are you going to put in that's better? What live-action franchise does Universal have that consistently makes that much money? Okay, let's talk about this, because there's a bunch of stuff to dissect here. Number one, he's right, okay? This is one of the, if not the biggest franchises that Universal has, okay? They did have the Jurassic World franchise, but that is no longer there, okay? So the fact is that this is, even if it does turn a small profit, okay, and I mean small profit, I mean the fact that you may be even looking at $700 million is scary with a $340 million budget. Now let me talk about some of the other things that were in the piece. So he touched upon supply chain problems, COVID restrictions, and salaries. So there's a lot of good news here. Number one, okay, that you're not going to have COVID restriction costs going into the next film. Okay, that's just not going to happen. Okay, unless you want to take the precaution for that. Okay, which you can, but I mean, it seems like we are all quote back to normal what it was. Okay, so you can eliminate that. That's a couple $1 million of savings. That's good news. Number two, supply chain problems. We'll see. I'm not too privy on those, but those could get worked out in a different manner, so you don't have the same repeat problems that you did for this film. And lastly, and this is what I want to really impose and touch upon, and that is the salaries. So the salaries for this movie, okay, it really, honestly, at the end of the day, okay, you're not having the salaries weren't that much. So at the top of the food chain, because it is his franchise, okay, you had Vin Diesel. He made $20 million. Okay, fine. You had Jason Statham, okay, make $15 million for this picture. Now, I'd love to know the contract that he signed, okay, because I don't know if it was, escalating, from the number of multi-year deals or whatever, because for what he was in, and anybody who's seen the film knows what I'm talking about, there is no way he should have been making $15 million. There's no way. There's no way. Jason Momoa, okay? Jason Momoa ended up coming in third with $5 million. That's reasonable. Okay? That's reasonable. Okay? I mean, he's been in the billion-dollar film before with Aquaman. Now, his performance was one of the best ones, if not the best one of the whole film. Okay? That's a reasonable salary. Okay? I don't know if he'll, we know he's going to be in the next picture. However, we don't know what his salary is going to be. Is it locked in for the next picture, or is it they're doing it one at a time? What blows my mind unbelievably, okay, is that you have these three women, okay? Now, Rodriguez has been with the franchise since the inception of it. We've spoken at length about that, okay? She got $2.5 million. That's right. I said that correctly. $2.5 million. This is her seventh film, okay? Or eighth film. Okay, she wasn't in Tokyo Drift, and I think there was one other one she wasn't in. So, what blows my mind is she's been with the franchise from the very inception, and she's getting $2.5 million. Charlize Theron, okay, ended up getting $1 million. Okay, and she's been with the franchise for a couple. She's started, I believe, I checked out after 5, but I believe she came in around 6 or 7. Okay, and Jordana Brewster also has been from the very beginning. I don't know how these women are not making more money. I just don't. John Cena, okay, this tells you something. John Cena made $2 million. John Cena made $2 million for this movie. I don't get it. So when they're talking about budget, okay, and they're talking about cost, and they're talking about that, look, at the end of the day, you have two people making $35 million. Okay? You have Momoa making 5. There's, excuse me, you had $40 million right there. Everybody else, okay, from Rita Morano to, Helen Mirren to John Cena to Jordana Brewster to Charlize Theron, everybody made right around $10 million. And the thing is, now you could probably, I forgot about Brie Larson, who made $1 million. Okay. Now, okay, you are going to have, I mean, we're assuming John Cena is not coming back. Who knows? That all being said, you are going to have two big names coming in. Okay. So anybody who's seen the film knows who Brie Larson's character is. My guess is, and if I had to put money on this today, okay, you're going to see Kurt Russell back in the final film. I mean, they talked about how, Mr. Nobody is missing, this, and this. My guess is you're going to see him show up. You're going to see Kurt Russell come in, even if it's for a scene or two with Brie. And that's going to be that. The other big name you're going to have in this film, okay, and let's call it for what it is, it's The Rock. Okay? My guess is he is going to make right around that Statham or Diesel money. So immediately, he's already going to balloon this thing. Okay? So you've got Diesel that's going to more than likely make 20 again. Okay? You've got The Rock, who is more than likely going to make at least 15, if not 20. Okay. Because you got Statham, okay, that is probably, if we're going to align him and say, okay, he's going to make 15, right there, that's $55 million. That's $55 million. Now, let's talk about everybody else, okay? Rodriguez, if she comes back, well, she's going to come back for the last film. I hope she's going to make more than $2.5 million. We'll see. But let's put Momoa in there, okay? So you have Diesel at 20, Rock at 15 to 20. Let's call it 20. You've got Statham at 15, and you've got Momoa at 5. That's $60 million. Now, let's also take all the other pieces. You've got Gal Gadot, okay? You've got Jordana Brewster. You've got Michelle Rodriguez. You've got Charlize Theron, okay? You've got Nathaniel Emmanuel, okay? You've got Tyrese Gibson, okay? You've got Sung Kang, okay? And you have Ludacris. That's 9. 9 other people, okay? What do you think? Even if they each make $3 million, that's still 20. And by the way, I don't know. I'm guessing. That's $27 million. Now you're talking about 87. You go from your budget going from $55 million to $87 million. So it's gone up by a third. And you know they're not going to cut back on the CGI, okay, and everything else. I'm not even talking about Xena coming back, and he only got a couple million. So there's a little bit of a savings there. This next film, whenever it comes out, okay, is going to be, my guess is, okay, if they're lucky, close to $300 million for budget. Because 55, if I had to imagine, I would say almost a third of that budget is going to be salary. So it's really, to say this is going to turn a profit, barely, and he wants to make 2 more? No way. There is no way that they can actually do this and be profitable. Okay? I can't see it. And here's something else to consider, guys. We're not even talking about the writer's strike. This writer's strike, and I know it's the elephant in the room, but this writer's strike is going to, after this year, we're going to have a ton of stuff this year. Okay? We are going to have an absolute ton of stuff this year. That being said, okay, once 2024 comes, okay, it's going to start to slow down. And then everything else is getting pushed back. So, I mean, Avengers, I'm just putting this in perspective, okay? Avengers King Dynasty was supposed to come out May 2nd, 2025. There's no way that's happening now. There is no way that's happening, especially with the writer's strike. Okay? You have all of these pictures. So I wouldn't be shocked to see Superman Legacy get pushed back. Okay? That being said, this next film is not going to be in theaters, okay, until at least 2026. And that's if they're lucky. Okay? Because even though you have everybody coming back, okay, you've got to write the script. You've got to do a mountain of pre-production, okay? Then you got to film principal photography, okay? And then on top of all that, you've got to do post. And post is going to take at least 6 to 8 to 10 months. So you're talking maybe 2026, 2027. There is no way, and this is why I mean it. This is why I said no way that they're going to make 3 other films. There's just no way. It doesn't make any sense. So, anyways, if it turns a profit, it will be very lucky. And we'll talk about this more with Jeremy tomorrow. Anyways, guys, what do you think about Jeremy's article about having this turn a profit? Do you think it could be profitable? Do you think if it isn't profitable, do you think they'll nix the other projects? Okay. Leave me your thoughts down in the comments and I'll get back to everybody.